begin by saying our country, our city, and our community has lost an extraordinary man. I've had the opportunity to work with Louis for many, many years, and also with Jane, because she was involved with the community for many years also. And I'll never forget when we first started going out to different homes, when we thought there was drug activity going on, we'd go to these homes and protest. And I'm surprised we didn't get shot. But I told Louis, I said, we better stop this. We knew we were going to run into some problems, but he stood for what he believed in, and he truly believed in our community. But his greatest love was his wife, his family, his country, and his community. And I will never forget the time that we were talking about, there was talk about closing Esperanza Library. Louis was up in arms, I was up in arms, we were working with Councilor Armijo at the time, and I said, we can't get this library shut. And Louis said, no, we've got to continue to fight. Well, we lost that fight, but I told Louis, I said, Louis, I can assure you that we will build a regional library for this community. And Louis played such an integral role in building the new library on Albuquerque's west side at Unser and Central. He was one of the speakers at that event. We also needed a brand new fire station, and Louis was involved in building that new fire station. And one of his biggest fights was the Unser and Central sewer project, the smell right there at Unser and Central. And that project is just going to start now. I'd like to name something after Louis, but I definitely will not name a sewer project. I think that we should look, and I'm going to be working with Councilor Pena and former City Councilor Armijo and Mayor Berry, is maybe look at the community room at the new library to name that after Louis Tafoya. We also lost another great leader in our community, Joan Jones, just recently. So we've lost two giants in our community that they made a tremendous difference. You know, we as the elected officials get all the credit that goes on in our communities, but it's the people that are behind the scenes each and every day that dedicate their lives to making our community a better place to live. And I was honored to know Louis for over 20 years. I've also done his taxes for many, many years. And as a retiree from the Navy, that's one of the greatest loves that he had was for the Navy, and that's why I wore this navy blue tie, but I was a little bit concerned because I know he's a Republican. So I wore my navy blue tie, but he loved the Navy, so I wore the navy blue tie. But I want to thank his family for, because he gave so much of his time to the community. I'm sure that his family suffered a little bit because his time was dedicated to making our place a better place to live in. He was stubborn. Louis would not take no for an answer. But I've always said, united as a community, there is very little that we cannot do. And because of people like Louis, people like Jane, and a lot of the other community members that are here today, Jerry Worrell, I see Candy Patterson, her husband, Max Garcia, you guys have made a tremendous difference in making the lives of residents on Albuquerque's west side a better place to live. And Louis, God bless you, and may you rest in peace. And I know you're now in heaven with Jane, going to different neighborhood associations there in heaven.
Hello, my name's Olivia. I'm Louis' granddaughter. I just want to say that my grandpa was a huge role model, whether I realize it sooner than later. My grandpa's impact on my life and the values, which is funny hearing about the protests, because I think I was about 6 or 7, but I would go picket with them in front of really bad apartments by Western View. And if anybody knows my grandpa, he really loved Western View. But I really loved my grandpa, and my grandma Jane would have been very proud that he finished serving the community. I've talked to senators and people that represent in the legislature, and people know who my grandpa is. And I remember my grandpa from growing up and being his granddaughter, but to imagine him on the state level or with a level of, serving our community. It's really nice to hear that, people know him and who he is. Thank you.
For me, it was, actually I had a chance to meet Louis through Friendship Baptist. It was about 10 years ago that he was looking for people to help fill the pulpit, and I was one of the people that, well, I had pastored a church here in Albuquerque, or in Rio Rancho, but I had gone over, we were working over at Hoffmantown at the time, and he found out that there were people available. He called me and said, would you like to just come fill the pulpit? And so that was in 2006. And so it was like every 5 or 6 weeks got to come down here. And what I remember most about Louis was that he was somebody who was very dedicated. When he said he was going to do something, you could be sure he was going to get it done. And that's like, I learned a long time ago, don't ever argue with Louis. If he's going to do it, you don't think he wants to do it, or you don't want to do it, it's going to get done anyway, so just let it happen. In fact, one of the things that I thought was funny was that, since this is a Baptist church, everybody always wants to be First Baptist Church. And one of the churches up on the West Mesa, they used to have another name, but they became First Baptist of West Albuquerque. And Louis kept telling me, he goes, we need to change our name. He says, we don't have to do it completely, we just could be FBC, which could also be First Baptist, but it's also Friendship Baptist Church. He said, we ought to be FBC of Southwest Albuquerque. And I was always afraid he really was going to change that name. Because I said, Louis, we're Friendship, we're constituted that way, we ought to be, no, we really ought to be FBC Southwest Albuquerque. So who knows, maybe we'll change the sign. Just because that's the way Louis liked it. But, for me, it was like, I loved being able to come here, and a lot of times there would be mornings that he and I would be the first two here, and while we were making coffee or doing things, he was always telling me stories about his family. He was telling me stories about what he was doing in the community. He talked about Mr. Armijo a lot, and he talked about some of the other folks, and it's like, it's nice to actually meet some of the people he talked about. And so it was for me, he really had a great impact on my life. He brought me at one time, we had been through a pretty difficult church situation at TRC, and I remember that year at Thanksgiving, he came to our house, surprised us on a Thursday or a Sunday afternoon. He said, I just thought maybe you guys needed a little encouragement, and I wanted to bring you this little basket of encouragement. Totally unexpected, and it was just like exactly what was needed at exactly the right time, and it really helped that Thanksgiving season be a little brighter for us. And I was totally surprised, but I said, Lou, you didn't have to do this, but I knew by that time you don't tell him no. And it was something that really meant a lot to us, and it touched our lives, and I was very grateful to have known him. And he is going to be greatly missed in all the areas you talk about in the community. He'll be greatly missed here at Friendship, too. We are going to miss him a lot.